Welcome to tonight's Blue Table Talk. I'm your host, Jefferson Jones, and welcome to this beautiful Tuesday night. It is so gorgeous. It was so gorgeous today. I know you got out there and voted today because this is now time for early voting, and I know you were out there voting today. So there are several locations that you can go to. I'm going to just throw out a few of them: the courthouse, Rogers Park, John Paul Davis, um, on Fournette Road. What was I forgot the name of it? What's the name of it, Jess?
Theodore Johnson.
Yeah, Theodore John. Yes, and you can go there, and so you look for the one, look for in the paper or call the courthouse and see what courthouse or what section is open in your area. But really, you can go anywhere to vote because it's just not in your precinct. It's you can go anywhere to vote. Okay, so let's talk about COVID. You know that I'm always talking about COVID, and I always want you to go get your vaccine. They have it for children, even like 6 months. So go ahead and get your vaccine, and because you not only want to protect yourself, you want to protect others as well. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who have had their vaccine and who have had COVID. I'm not saying that it would protect you from not getting COVID because you can get COVID, but it will help you in the long run where it won't be as bad. So go out there and vaccine, do the 3W, wash your hands, wear your mask, and watch your distance, and you'll be okay. Look, I'm gonna tell you, today I was at the gym and I always wear my mask. Always, always. So today I said I'm not gonna wear my mask. And guess what? A lady started coughing. And I looked at her and I just moved away from her. But look, it's just me. So y'all go ahead and go ahead and do the 3Ws, and I promise you'll be okay. And so let's go on. We have a good guest on tonight. We have Jess Prince on tonight, and she's the candidate for county clerk. So we need a county clerk because the last county clerk after 16 years she retired. So now we need someone in that position. So we have tonight Jess Prince, and we're gonna welcome Jess Prince to Blue Table Talk. Hello, Jess. How are you tonight?
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to
Oh,
be here.
girl, I am so glad that you accepted it from me. So
Of course.
a lot of people don't know exactly who you are. So do you mind introducing yourself and tell us a little
Not,
bit about
not at all. I'd love to. So I am a proud Beaumont native. I grew up in the north end of Beaumont. I've lived in Jefferson County all of my life. I went to both Central and Westbrook high schools, and then I went to Lamar for my undergraduate degree. I got my master's in public administration from the University of Texas, Arlington. I've been a business owner since 2003, and I'm also a commercial broker. I started doing real estate in about 2014, but I love community service and public service, and so even though I've had a business and worked for myself for a long time, in about I want to say 2006, I started getting really involved in volunteer work, and so on the nonprofit side of things, I currently am the president of the Downtown Beaumont Cultural Arts District, which is a nonprofit. I serve on the This is Project Texas Board of Directors, which is a statewide, nonpartisan, get out the vote initiative. I also serve on United Way Board and Pioneering Women. I'm a member of the NAACP, and I serve on the National Federation of Democratic Women's Legislative Committee and Young Women's Leaders Committee, and I'm the finance chair of the Texas Democratic Women. I was a precinct chair with the Democratic Party for many years, and I also served as party treasurer until I was hired as chief deputy county clerk. So I love volunteering in the community and being involved in the community, and that's just a brief recap.
You're a busy lady.
Yeah,
do you
I like it that way though.
do you get any sleep?
Yes, about 6 hours a night.
Well, you know what? We can run together because that's something where I get between 4 and 6. So
Mhm.
you can always call me because I'm always up.
Good to know.
What possessed you to run for county clerk?
Well, to be honest, when I was hired, when Carolyn retired, I was hired as chief deputy based on my credentials and my professional experience. And it was not really anything that I had planned on doing, but after being in the position and seeing how well I liked the job and the people that I worked with, the seat was open. And so a lot of people reached out to me. I have the lived experience, I've done the job, and I'm very qualified to do the job. So I said, why not me?
Why not? You can do just as well as anyone else.
Yes.
So, how would you maintain the confidentiality with security of the information you work with?
Well, so the county clerk's office deals a lot with public records and
Yeah.
public information. The county clerk is the recorder of all the documents in the county. And we also clerk the courts, we administer elections. There are a lot of moving pieces, but we have redaction software that handles all of the confidentiality that's related to the documents that are filed within our office.
So, can anybody come there to look at it?
Yes. Our public records go back all the way to 1901. And so obviously they were handwritten. And over the years, most of those documents have been digitized and are available to search on our website. But things like social security numbers and addresses, particularly if they're minors, those things have all been removed when they're scanned on digitally, and they're redacted in handwritten copies as well. But we have a huge section of archives upstairs and in the basement, and so it's a very extensive place to do research. Yes.
Yeah, I know there's since you said since 1901, there has to be a lot of records up there.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So like you said, anybody could come. What do we do if we want to come up there and look at something? How do we come? How do we?
Honestly, you just go through security at the front door of the courthouse, and then you come to the counter, tell someone what you'd like to look at. We do have computers at the back of the office that people can use to search the online databases. But if you want to search probate records or personal property records, deeds, surveys, anything of that nature, that is all in the large books up until the early 2000s is when it all started becoming digital. But there are staff to help you if you need to find it online, or if it's not scanned in. Like, all of our probate records have not been digitized because they have not been redacted totally. And so there are a lot of ladies up there that will help you research whatever it is that you're looking for.
So you think there's a lot of stuff that's already in place that you would change, or that's not in place that you would change?
No, for the most part, when Carolyn was county clerk, they've been digitizing those records for years, and each quarter they allocate a portion of the budget to have that done. It's outsourced, and so there's very little left that isn't actually online that you can look up on your home computer. But the probate is the last section that needs to be digitized, and that's just very laborious, time-consuming thing that just takes time. And actually, that project was recently approved in the fourth quarter of last year.
So there is a website that you can look on from your home.
Oh yes, the Jefferson County, Texas website. If you click on the county clerk's office, then you would navigate to whatever it is that you're looking for, whether that be vital statistics, because we do birth and death records up till 1966, and then marriage licenses, deeds, surveys, anything to do with property, plats, that sort of thing.
I thought vital statistics were at the Beaumont Health Department.
They are after 1966.
After 1966.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. Cool. Let me talk to my viewers for a minute. Is okay?
Cool.
Okay, guys, if you guys are on here, would you please come on my comment page so that we can see you, so that you can tell Jess hello, and so that she'll know that you are out there for her, and because we need you to know so that we can go out there tell people to go out and vote because this is very crucial. This is a very crucial election, and we need you to come on my comment page. I know you need to switch over, but while you're doing that, don't forget to hit your share button because sharing is caring. Okay, I have one person out there. That's Gwen. Hey, Gwen. Gwen Scott says, let me see what she says here.
Hi.
She says, heard Jess give her slate and credentials at the NAACP Monday meeting on Thursday. Voted yesterday, doing good, or doing a good job, Deborah. Okay. So Jess will be doing a great job as well. So, are you running, you don't have an opponent or what?
I do not have a Democratic opponent in the primary.
Okay, not in primary.
No. Okay. I have a Republican opponent in the general.
In the general. Great. So y'all hear that, right? Let's get out there. It's time to vote. All right. So, what would your definition of good service be?
I think that good service always boils down to a positive experience. The end result, and the way that you achieve that, in my experience, is by listening, communicating, being able to manage people's expectations, and always delivering above and beyond what they are asking you to do. Now, in any field with customer service, whether that be, the restaurant industry, hotel, hospitality, coming to the county clerk, it's all public service. And sometimes a customer is going to need or want something that you can't give them. But if you go above and beyond to help them achieve their desired result, I think that is really the true definition of public service. And, just delivering a positive experience to them, even if you can't give them exactly what they've asked for.
Now, you spoke about record keeping earlier in your speech. So how do you plan on, what is your experience of record keeping?
Well, as I mentioned in my intro, I've been a business owner for almost 2 decades. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, you are maintaining a lot of records, whether that be tax related or HR, payroll. And in the county clerk's office specifically, we have a lot of retention schedules, which are mandated by the state legislature. So, but record keeping is something that I'm very familiar with and that I'm thorough with, and I'm a very detail-oriented person. With even brokerage, with real estate, we have to maintain all of the contracts and legal documents related to our deals for a set amount of time. And so I have extensive experience with all of the record keeping and with Texas government code and all of the laws that are and statutes that are in place to inform us as to how long that needs to be done.
So what your business was or is, it kind of intertwined with being with what you're running for, right?
Well, not my business specifically. I will say, the county clerk does deal a lot with real estate, with title companies, with the filing of plats and surveys, any sort of deed record. I work a lot with that in a real estate capacity. So when I became chief deputy, those were all documents that I was very familiar with, navigating and reading. And a lot of times when people come to the county clerk's office, they need you to solve a problem. They need a document, or someone's passed away. They don't know what they're looking for. And so it's, of course, helpful and important to them that you be familiar with those things and be able to help navigate what it is that they are needing to do. Now, I will say, we're not lawyers and we don't give legal advice, but right. Anytime that, that they have a document that we have filed and recorded or indexed, of course, it's very important to help them locate what it is that they need.
But would you tell them, in my opinion, this is what you need to do, or what?
No. We don't do that. No legal opinions. All of the deputies can give guidance if it's a record that we have on file, how to go about getting copies, certified copies, or if it's not our department, we can say, maybe a lot of people come in and they need something from the appraisal district, for example, and we can direct them to that website, but no advising.
So what is your take on running the office as far as being the county clerk?
My take?
Yeah, how would you run it?
As far as like my leadership style?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I can tell you, I was there for almost 9 months, and as chief deputy, you're the second in command, but you have all the capacity of the county clerk. I am a very high energy person. I'm a very positive energy, positive reinforcement leadership style. I think that people need to feel valued and safe and cared about. And when you lead from empathy, that always seems to help.
Mhm.
And that's what I did there. And I built a lot of really good rapport amongst all of the coworkers in the office and throughout the county, actually, in the various departments. And, I just feel like if you're doing your best and helping other people do their best, it's a team effort at the end of the day. And it's all about keeping a positive attitude and having a common goal.
Right. Now you mentioned that you only been there a couple of months, 9 months to be exact, right?
Right. Yes.
So tell me about a time you had to solve a problem that came up unexpectedly.
In the county clerk's office specifically?
Yes. Or
Okay.
anytime, even doing real estate.
I have endless examples of problems that come up unexpectedly. Anytime you're in a public service position and in a leadership role, there's always going to be challenges that you didn't plan for, but you have to expect them. And I think that being flexible and adaptable is number one, very important. But on a daily basis, there's an office with 30 plus employees. A lot of them are mothers. Their kids get sick, they get sick, their parents get sick. People call in every day. There's scheduling problems. There are staff shortages. With elections, for example, equipment may fail or go down, and you've got to dispatch and get new equipment out there. But it's all about being prepared and organized and just anticipating that there will be problems and having everyone be able to shift their duties and help each other out.
Do you think you would if the computer's been down at one of the sites that you would kind of freeze up and say, oh, what's next or whatever. I mean, you have people there working with
Of
you.
course. Oh, yeah. And we have generators at the courthouse, but I'll never forget in the city of Beaumont mayor's runoff last year. I was, there and administering that election, and the power went out at Theodore Johns. And I feel like as long as I can remember, the power goes out at least one place every single election, and everyone panics, and sometimes it comes back on soon, and sometimes it doesn't. Then you have to, inform them, shift, tell them like the closest polling location to their vicinity in case it's going to be a while. But there are always challenges. I mean, definitely.
What about those provisional ballots? What do you got? What do you do with those?
Provisional ballots. Well, a provisional ballot is what a voter would use if they come to a polling location and they have no form of ID and they're not sure what precinct they live in. A lot of times, for example, someone will come and they want to vote for a city council, for example. They want to vote for a city council position, and they don't realize that they don't live in the city of Beaumont. And so they can't vote for that. Like when they go into the booth, that doesn't show up on their ballot because that's not their precinct. But, if they're insistent on that or they don't have their ID, then of course they vote a provisional ballot. And when they do that, those are collected. And then that voter has 6 days to cure that ballot. And that lingo basically means you have 6 days to bring your ID or show, prove that it can then be counted as a regular vote.
You mentioned earlier that you don't have an opponent in the early election.
The Democratic, yeah.
Yes.
The primary. Mm-hmm.
Right, in the primary. So should the voters still vote for you or just skip over and say, well, they don't have an opponent?
No, they should always vote. And that does confuse a lot of people.
And
So
it
one
confuses a lot of
election,
people.
you
Yes.
have to pick a party. And if, for example, I did have a primary opponent, there are probably people, crossover votes is what we call them,
Right.
maybe Republican, that would support me being in office. They want to vote for me in November, but they will vote in a Democratic primary for the sole purpose of helping you get to the general election. And I'm not, I think there are some people that don't really understand how that works all the time, but there are very important races on our ballot every election. And so it's important to cast your vote and get a clear picture of our turnout percentage and all of those things. So please do still vote.
Well, okay, so say that I am a Republican,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm voting in the primary and
Mhm.
doing whatever I need to do for my Republicans. But I got mad at whoever was doing whatever, and so in November I want to be Democratic. Can that be done, or what?
Yes. So in the general election, there is not any straight ticket, straight party voting.
Right.
So every candidate for each office will be listed together. In the primary, we do have a Democratic or Republican ticket, and each candidate from that party is specific to that ballot. But if there were to be a runoff, for example, then even if you did not vote in the primary, as long as you're registered by the deadline, you can still vote in a runoff.
Okay.
So there's a lot of rules, but
rules, right. Okay, you guys hear that? Okay, so if you're a Democrat, and so you got mad at Democrat, hope you don't. you want to go to Republican, you can do it. So, but
of course,
you stay where you are right now.
Each election, you're just casting one vote for one
Casting one vote,
candidate.
right.
Yeah, they're all separate.
Yeah, all separate. Great job. So let me talk to my viewers again. Look, guys, go ahead and say hello to Jess. I'm not seeing you on my comment page. Say hello to Jess. And if you want to pose a question, this is what we're here for. She's welcomed your questions. So go ahead and ask her a question if you like to. So let me continue with mine, and then when I see yours, I will throw it to her and let her see hers. See what's going on. How would you organize your workload? Can you multitask in a fast-paced environment?
Absolutely. That is my preferred method
Yeah.
of operation. Actually, that's why I'm involved in so many different things and wear so many hats, because I love fast-paced. I love multitasking. And to me, it just helps the day go by faster, but I also feel more productive. So the county clerk's office specifically is very fast-paced because, from the moment we open our doors at the courthouse at 8 a.m. to 4:30, the traffic is nonstop. And, maybe they're coming for a marriage license. Maybe they want to file a DBA. Maybe they have to look up their probate. But we administer elections in the county clerk's office, almost for a year, because we're doing like political subdivisions all year long. And then you have midterms and presidential. And so there's always a million things going on. And every Tuesday, we clerk the commissioner's court. And so depending on how long that is and what the agenda is, then we have to get the minutes and post public notices for any pertinent political subdivision throughout the county as they happen. So it's nonstop all day, every day. And that's one of the things that I love about the job, honestly.
Okay, so Kathy Wingate says hello, and Charlotte Wilson says hello, Jess, as well. So thank you guys for coming on. If anybody else, y'all come on out there and tell Jess hello and pose those questions. We're ready for you. Okay, so how would you determine priorities when you have numerous task duties?
Well, typically I will determine, everything at the county clerk's office specifically is very time sensitive. And so you have to prioritize things as they happen, in terms of if someone's there and they're paying to have a document filed. Everything is very time sensitive in regards to those documents. Public notices have to be posted within a certain amount of time for open meetings. The commissioner's court has to be posted within so many hours of their meeting. So everything it's time sensitive, has to be handled first. And then you look at what sort of revenue is it generating for the county, with the fees and the things of that nature. So, for example, if there's the city of Port Arthur and they want to do a joint election and they want to contract with us to administer that, what that's a big priority. There are a lot of deadlines with the Secretary of State's office, and that's a big revenue item. And then what sort of notice do you have to post with the commissioner's court, and following all the statutes and the deadlines that are posed from the state level. So those are the two main things that I use to prioritize time. But you do have to, in between, there are people coming all day long. Maybe they need a bond refunded, or, they need to get copies of something. That's why our staff there is so extensive, and they all have a special department and role, because they each have a supervisor, and being able to delegate all of these responsibilities to those that have been there for a long time, that know what they're doing, just helps everything to flow and work well.
Right. Charlotte Wilson says, "Hey Jess, what are your thoughts on voter suppression?"
Oh, how long do we have to talk about this?
Right.
Voter suppression is infuriating to me, Charlotte. And I think that I did not believe that at my age and this time in my life that I would be watching this train wreck, because it's such a backward motion from all of the progress that our ancestors and forefathers, etc.
Backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we are. It's very strange to watch in real time, and watching, for example, Senate Bill 1 being passed, and watching the lack of action or movement at the federal level with passing the John Lewis Act. It's just very strange to me. I mean, we've got leadership in place and a majority, and yet we're treading water. I think it's very frustrating, and I think that it's very intentional, and it's just going to take a lot of persistence to fight it.
A lot. I mean, it's like we're just going backwards,
Yeah, and I hear, of course, we all hear all the nonsense about fraud and stolen elections, and of course, all of that has been proven to be false.
Right.
And now it's just a talking point that I think is used to distract people or incite fear. I see a lot of fear used in politics, and I don't like that, but it is what it is. It's just frustrating, but it's also frightening, because when you look at the election administrators and election officials across our country, since 2020, I mean, they've received death threats, they've had audits that were expensive, and Jefferson County has never had a voter fraud issue. It's never been audited for that. It's not been a thing, but people act as if it is, because that's a narrative that they're being fed. And I think that that's unfortunate, but we just have to counter that with the truth.
Right, exactly. Cheryl Chambers says, "Hello, Jess. Can you tell me the procedures for filing a DBA? Is that in your area?"
We do file DBAs and assume names in the Jefferson County Clerk's office, and you would need to bring all of your pertinent documents that you would get on the Secretary of State's website, and then you would come and file that with our office. And the fees are minimal, but it's actually a very fast process, as long as you have all of your paperwork from the Secretary of State's office.
Yes. Charlotte said, "Thank you, Jess, for your real talk on such a very important issue." Yes.
Thank you for the question.
Yes. How would you determine, I'm sorry, what do you think would be your hardest challenge as a county clerk?
I thought about this. I love problem solving and helping people, and that's all day, every day at the county clerk's office. It is challenging, but it's also very rewarding. And honestly, I was there, for 9 months, and I think the biggest challenge, recurring challenge, I'll be honest, is that our county has some very antiquated software and internal programs,
Mhm.
and they are in the process right now, a very long process of shifting and changing and updating all of those things. But the way that they are working now was it was kind of a shock, having worked with other governmental entities prior to that, and with my own company. And then I honestly, I had never heard of AS 400, and that is a program that the county uses to do payroll and to do issue checks for guardianships and bonds and all sorts of other things. And so to me, it was challenging to see such an antiquated system in place. But the good news is that they've spent hours and hours and lots of money to update it. And that system is supposed to go live in November, which is right in time for me getting elected. And so the newest challenge will be learning that software, but it's going to be so much better. And so it's good.
Yeah. Would you have an open door policy?
Absolutely.
So anytime I go down there and say I need to talk with Jess Prince, and so that and you'll say, well, tell her, come on in. Of course, you know they got.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, cool. You know, when I go to jury duty and I have jury duty and go up there, I know how stressful the courthouse could be. So since the courthouse is so stressful, have a stressful environment, how would you communicate with people to ensure they can stay calm?
In our division, we administer three county courts, the probate court and the commissioner's court. When we send anyone in our courts division up to court, they are really working on judgments and things. They occasionally will have a stressful situation. And, I've been there when um, fights have broken out, or something. We've had bomb threats, and you just have to. We have plans in place. We have evacuation plans. We have shelter in place plans. We have just a lot of protocols, and you really just have to stay calm and remember, what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go, and make sure that everyone around you is safe. But for the most part, our security does a great job, and it's really a very calm place most of the time.
Well, how close does the county clerk work with the judges?
We only work with the three county judges that are misdemeanor courts, and then of course the county judge, because he presides over the commissioner's court, and we clerk those courts. So we work with them very closely.
So tell us a little bit about commissioner's court. What does it?
Well, I think that commissioner's court is very interesting. And I'll be honest, I was watching or attending commissioner's court long before I ever started working there, because commissioner's court has a lot of power over the way that our county spends and receives money from the state and federal level. And they oversee a very large budget. They have a lot to do with our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our drainage. And to me, all of those things are very impactful on our quality of life as residents of Jefferson County. And so to me, Commissioner's Court is very interesting. I read the packet every weekend, and then the agenda, of course, is posted the Thursday prior to the meetings on Tuesday. So when you go to Commissioner's Court, it's kind of like city council for the county, but it's much more condensed. And so each department within the county, may have action items on the agenda. But Commissioner's Court is typically not longer than 30 minutes. And, they're conducting business. They do take public comments at the end, but the county clerk's role is to take the minutes of all of those meetings and post all of the notices related to those meetings and make sure that all of those records are available to the public.
So is it open to the public?
Yes, it is.
It is open to the public. So how will the public know that you guys have a commissioner court? When do you have it?
It is every single Tuesday at 10:30 in the morning. It's also streamed live on the county clerk's, well, not the county clerk's, but the county's website under the commissioner's court. They stream it live, and then the video is posted forever. So you can watch it after the fact, of course. And if there is a special meeting for, they need to vote on something that wasn't on the agenda in a certain amount of days prior, they'll post that special meeting, and those are not very often, but there's always a notice posted at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting.
So what type of supervisor would you be?
I am really,
I know you say you hyper and you.
Well, I'm very energetic and I'm very positive, but I'm just kind of an even keel supervisor. I think that honesty and communication are very important, and I've supervised a lot of people for a long time. My first managerial position, I was 17, and I'm going to be 43 next month. So I've had a long time of supervising, but I think that, listening is very critical. If you can't listen, you can't supervise, and you need to be listening when no one knows that you are, and you need to be listening when, tensions are high, or when it's just normal. I'm a highly observant person, and I have a lot of very adaptive interpersonal skills. And so it just depends on the staff, the coworker. Mm-hmm. And I try to get a sense of, how best they receive information, what their love language is, if you will, in terms of, just communicating and what their goals are. I think it's really important to help anyone that you're working with achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. And so you have to know what they are so that you can help them get where they're going.
Right. So, I don't care who's in the office, what they do, your position, you're going to have to move it in a different direction where the person who was there before you did. So how mm-hmm. would you help your staff grow productively or professionally?
I think what is really important is that employees feel valued and like their contribution is important. And I think that most people really want to do their best, and you have to position them to do that, to grow, to learn. They need training, they need incentives, they need flexibility. And I think that a lot of the staff that are there have worked there for decades, and, they may want to shift to another department. They may need some new challenge because, things can be very mundane when you're doing the same thing day after day. It's hard to be excited about that. And so to me, I think that there are more training opportunities that could be made available. And I probably came to terms with listening to that in my first 30 days there, because, a lot of people just expressed, I'd like to do this. I'd like to learn this. I'd like to understand why this is what we do. And so I think making those training opportunities available and just finding out what their goals are and where they want to go within the department is a huge step.
So you do believe in professional development?
Absolutely.
And you would use that as your goal. I mean, as your steps to make your staff grow.
Yes. And I think that also increases your retention. There's a lot of turnover in some of these departments, and it's because I think, they don't feel like there's anywhere to grow. So you need to create that space so that you are keeping employees longer, and that retention helps with your customer service delivery. It helps with the office morale, and so those are all things that increase your customer service experience overall too.
Right. I don't care who you work for. I don't care where you work or whatever. How would you respond to staff conflict?
You have to address that immediately. ASAP is how I address conflict. It's, I'm not a person that likes drama, but there always is going to be some, especially when you have that many people in a workspace day after day. But I will say, I was there for 9 months, but these ladies are they're professional. There's not a lot of conflict. They all help each other, and it's a really positive, great environment. But even not in terms of the county clerk's office, like I said, I've been managing people and overseeing people a long time, and conflict occurs. It's just the
Right.
nature of the personalities and the differences in opinion, and you have to address it immediately, and you have to be very clear, about the resolve of this issue. So, what is your expectation? What is your expectation? Here's how we can accommodate both, or just dismiss it, move on. There has to be communication. You can't
Right.
just let it fester.
So you don't think that the final word ends with you?
Well, yes, it definitely does. But I think that if you give adults the space to convey how they feel about things in
Mhm.
private, typically things are resolved. People want to be heard, they want to feel heard, and they want to feel respected. And the sooner you can facilitate that, the sooner everybody can go back to work.
Go back to work and be and do the right thing and work professionally.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so how do you as a candidate evaluate success in this role?
It's an expansive role, and I think the best way to evaluate the success of the county clerk's office is, are we delivering exceptional customer service? Are we administering fair and accessible elections? Are we increasing our productivity? Are we eliminating errors and reducing mistakes? As long as we can see those metrics, I think that we're doing a good job. That's success.
When a while back when we were voting, you go to the polls to vote, and they used to use these big old binders and scratch your name off, and
They're still there. They're still in the county clerk's office.
and then it's getting changed over to the computer, which is a whole lot better
The
than
E-slate, yes.
yeah. And so what would you do to improve the county clerk's office?
Well, I can tell you in terms of that technology specifically, in our last legislative session, they voted to mandate new election equipment be in place in a certain amount of time. And actually, this morning on the commissioner's court agenda, there was an item in regards to the new election equipment. One of these mandates is that all of the counties go to this new machine with a paper programming. And if you do that by the end of this year, then they will reimburse you a much larger portion of the cost. And if you don't have it done by November of this year, then they only reimburse you up to 50%. So I know that whoever is elected in November will be dealing with new election equipment, which we need, new technology internally, which we desperately need. And to me, those are going to enhance our ability to interact and service all of the residents of Jefferson County. But in terms of things that I would like to see change, I think that I'm also a professional grant writer, and there are a lot of opportunities, funding opportunities that we are not taking advantage of, that I think, could update our office in a lot of ways. I would like to see our website, for example, be much more user-friendly. I would like to have an open communication with the public about important dates and things in terms of voting. Yes, it is on our website, but our website is hard to use. And if you notice on my social media pages, I spend a lot of time creating content about where you vote and what the hours are and what forms of ID you need and all of the things that people constantly ask me about because they can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that our staff spend, countless hours of the day answering phone calls on a landline from customers that are trying to do it on their website, but they can't figure out how to use it. And so to me, that's not efficient and it's a waste of the taxpayer dollar. And so I would like to address that as well.
Can you address the mail-in?
The what?
Mail-in, because I'm hearing that the mail-in wasn't successful, or it didn't work out.
The
Something.
mail ballots?
Yeah, the mail-in ballots.
I can probably address it. I'm just not sure what in terms of what.
Okay, so I was told probably today that the mail-in ballots didn't reach out early enough for the people to get them, or that
Well, I can't address that from an internal perspective because I'm not
because
currently
you're
in
not in there,
office.
right?
But what I can say is that when Senate Bill 1 passed, that a lot of the legislation changed the rules in terms of mail ballot applications. Now, if you are eligible to vote by mail, that means that you're 65 or older,
Right.
you have some sort of disability, and or you're out of the county during election. And so now, because of the new legislation, it is illegal for the county clerk's office or whatever the election administrator is in the county to send a mail ballot request if it is not requested by the voter. So if the voter doesn't know, for example, that they have to call every year and request a mail ballot for that calendar year, and then they don't get their ballot, of course they're upset.
Right.
But that is the rule, and that has been a rule for a while, that you have to apply annually. But now the county party or the county candidates, whatever the candidates are, or the state party are the only entities that are allowed to send out a mail ballot application. And then that voter would need to send that in on their own. So the protocols have changed a little bit, a lot actually. And I think that a lot of people are finding that frustrating. And it's the first time that any county, not just us, has had to implement these new rules. And so I think it's probably been bumpy.
Could you let them know that about still on mail-in ballot, that if I did not mail my ballot in, I can bring it down to the poll, and then they can call the office to see if they
and they can spoil it, and then you can vote in person.
Right. So y'all hearing this? So do not vote. Get out there and vote. Question: what do you expect to achieve within your first 6 months to a year, and as a county clerk?
Well, as I mentioned, I'd like to be very aggressive on grant funding that could help us to update our website and ways that we communicate with the public. And also, I'd like to do evaluations because a lot of that was sort of being slowly done when I was there. But people have been there a long time. They need to have employee evaluations, have their salaries evaluated. I think that that's always important when new leadership comes in, because you need to know where you're starting and what needs to be achieved. And I think that really it's important for us to get the new software, become very familiar with that, because that's going to be county-wide new software. And so getting that done, I think in the first 6 months is going to be a huge piece of increasing our efficiency for the department overall. And that, of course, helps our taxpayer.
So is there a deputy chief there now?
Lori Leister is the interim. And to my knowledge, there is not a chief deputy now.
Okay.
Her appointment, it's only about 30 days old. So I think.
So what would happen with her?
Well, she was when Teresa retired at the end of December, she was appointed interim until this election takes place in November.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So she moved back to the chief deputy or something.
What's the question?
She would move back to her position where she was, or what? Before
Uh,
she was appointed interim county clerk.
she is currently interim county clerk. Yes.
Right. So after whoever get into the county clerk's office, whoever's going to be county clerk, Lori right now is that person.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever's going to be county clerk, where will Lori go?
That will all just depend. I'm not sure what her final aspirations are really.
Because she wasn't hired as county clerk.
No.
Okay. Okay. I here's a question for you, or a statement. It's very frustrating. Kathy Wingate says it's very frustrating if a person is elderly. They probably won't remember they have to call every year to get a mail-in ballot. That's just a way to stop people from voting. It's so sad.
It is. I don't have full certainty as to when that went into law, but I want to say at least since 2006, they have required that you do an annual application. And that is frustrating. And that is why I make sure to do a lot of reminders, even amongst people that I know and on my social media pages, that, if you have a senior relative, or really 65 is not old, but if you are 65 or older, you can vote by mail for the rest of your life if you want to. But I do make a point to remind everyone to remind their circle of influence, because it is hard to remember that.
Right.
It's frustrating.
And remind them that, if you don't mind, remind them that if you are handicapped, how would I vote? How could I come down there and vote? What would you do for me if I'm handicapped?
So are you referring to like the curbside voting?
Curbside, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, and they had some new laws also with SB1 relating to that, but they have mandated that the polling locations have a specific parking spot for that, and the election workers are trained. They have a specific machine called a DOW unit that goes out to the vehicle that can assist that person, that voter, without them coming into the building. 2 election workers go out with the voting unit, and it's definitely an option.
Okay, so what do the day-to-day responsibilities of a county clerk look like?
Well, we take in a lot of fees and revenue every day, and so typically the first priority of the day is making sure that everything has cleared the systems from the day before, that it's all hit the bank, that it's all balancing. We have to do our deposits to the auditor by 11 o'clock. We have to be balanced and have all of that really before 8 o'clock when we start taking in new revenue. And so that's always a priority. If there's an election happening, of course, polls are either opening at 7 or 8. And so oftentimes we're getting there an hour in advance to make sure that everyone has things that they need. But the day-to-day, depending on the time of year, can be crazy fast-paced, or just day by day. If it's a Tuesday, you're going to have court, of course, and then you're constantly dealing with correspondence with various elected officials. If they have finance reports that are due, we work a lot with the county judges, as I mentioned, the 3 county courts, and then constantly in contact with the voter registrar, which is in the tax assessor's office. And so the day it all depends. If you have, for example, the deadline to file your cattle brands, which you renew every 10 years, that could be the crazy thing of the week. And so it just really depends on what's going on and what month it is. But it's nonstop, and you're dealing with questions and media and technology, computer issues, and just constant questions where people come in to get their marriage license, or they're just asking for directions, because the courthouse can be a pretty confusing place.
Right. So you're working with people all the time, and I'm sure it's a stressful job. I'm sure it is. So, do you think that the kind of clerk should have a high quality customer service and communication skill?
Absolutely. I think that that is imperative. You need a lot of written communication skills because you are constantly dealing with written correspondence, emails, back and forth to the various people within the county, with customers, with customers that aren't even necessarily in Jefferson County. And we deal a lot with the lawyers. They need certain records that they're filing online. And so written correspondence is very important. Obviously, verbal correspondence and communication are very important because you need to be able to communicate with your staff and with customers. And then, like I said, listening is a huge piece. Your listening skills are, I think, the most important thing about communication. And you have to be able to listen all day, every day. And so
You don't want to walk out there with a smile. You gotta be smiling. Hey, girl, hey.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that. So, Jess, one last question before we get off. What makes you qualified for this role, and why should we vote for you?
Well, I think I was hired because my credentials and my professional experience qualified me. And now having done the job, I've gained new experience. But I think that I'm very prepared to serve the county in this capacity. It's not a plan that I have had for a long time, but like I mentioned in the beginning, I have the lived experience. I have the credentials. I have knowledge about the various departments, and I have them from an outside level as well as an inside level. I've been very involved with our county, our community, our getting out the vote efforts for a long time, and not from this professional perspective. And so I think my perspective is unique because I know the community, the precincts, the turnout, and just from the external perspective, and then having administered elections or clerked the courts from the internal perspective. And I am the only candidate that can say that they've done the job.
Right.
And so I think that that is valuable, and I think that it's important to serve our county with all of the assets and credentials that I've been able to hone over the years. I think that they are an asset to our county, and I think that our residents deserve experience and they deserve dedication, and I've proven to have both of those things. So I am asking for your vote.
I know that when we first met, and it was very cordial, and so every time we see one another, we embrace one another.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so it's real. I mean, you got my vote.
Thank you.
Who's your opponent in November?
I'm sorry.
Who's your opponent in November?
Her name is Roxanne Helberg.
Oh, okay, okay. Is she already there or what?
Is she already where?
In the office?
Oh, no. No.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I want to thank my viewers for coming on tonight, and I appreciate you asking Jess questions, and I know she appreciated it too because that's what she's here for, to answer your questions. You guys are awesome. You always support me, and with anything that I do, I don't care what I'm doing. I've always got your support. Jess, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, for accepting Blue Table Talk when I reached out to you to come on. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to be very, very respectful of your time. But before we go off, don't you forget that the Charlton Paula story documentary, They Will Talk About Us, will be this Friday night at the Jefferson Theater. So you guys get your tickets, and because the Wiz is coming on right after, but I understand that you do not have to stay there. But I love the Wiz. You do not have to stay there because they'll give you like a 15-minute intermission.
That's true.
Yeah. So
and that's my good friend Gordon. That's his film. So I will be there.
I'll be there. I love going. I just love it. He is so sweet. He is so sweet. So anyway, y'all, Charlton Park documentary, Friday night. Doors open at 5:30. Doors open at 5:30, and the show starts at 6. You know, I understand that the ticket booth will open at 5 o'clock though. If you don't have a ticket, you could go get a ticket at the ticket booth, right? Am I right about that?
You are, and I also shared the link on my social media to get tickets online if you want to do that.
Right.
And may I please just remind everyone that early voting is going to be going on through February the 25th, and election day is March 1st. So
election day is March the 1st. So you have time to go out there and vote. No excuse. None.
Yeah. Polls are open this weekend, so get it done.
And poll when you vote, because everybody's on Facebook. Go ahead and post and say, I voted. I forgot to get my I voted sticker today.
Uh-oh.
I think I'll go back and get one.
I'm sure they will hook you up.
Yeah, they'll hook me up. Anyway, so I think, like I said, thank you, Jess, for coming on, and good luck on your good luck on the success of this race. And if nothing else, you have anything else to say?
You can follow my social media page at Jess Prince for Jefferson County Clerk. Hashtag Let Me Clerk It 2022.
One question said, do you have a vote? Do you have to have a voter's card to vote, or can you still just use your license?
You do not need your voter registration card to vote. You do need a form of ID, and your driver's license is excellent choice.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, nothing else, guys. We're gonna bid you good night. Smooches. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.